Ladies and gentlemen, I hereby open the 131st Ordinary General Meeting of MANSE, which is according to the statutes as CEO and Chairman of the Board. I hereby assume the chairmanship of this meeting, and on behalf of the Board and of the Supervisory Board, I cordially welcome you. I would also like to welcome those who are following this General Meeting in the Internet. Ladies and gentlemen, all members of the Board are present here today, and the Supervisory Board members are fully represented here. And further to the formalities of the General Meeting, the Annual General Meeting has been properly convened according to the law and the statutes, and the invitation with the agenda has been sent on the 19th of May 2011 and has been published in the Federal Gazette. And that is why and it has been presented to the media, where we can assume that the information will be disseminated in the entire EU. And a printout of the Federal Gazette and the publications for the dissemination in the countries of the EU can be obtained at the entrance table, and then by the Board and according to paragraph 125 of the Stock Corporation Law, the Board has provided this information in due time. Any counter motions have been provided to our shareholders on the internet page of our company. The protocol about the General Meeting is taken by Mr. Notary Oliver Fusius, domiciled in Munich, and I hereby say the following for the voting. So the voting right is only for the common stockholders. Participating preferred stockholders are not entitled to vote. Any proxies and instructions for the execution of the voting right to the representatives of the voters of the company can also be made until the end of the general debate via the internet or by leaving the General Meeting room. For any votings, we are going to use voting card blocks that are being provided with you at the entrance counters. Before the votings, I'm going to give you further information about filling in the voting cards. If you still have entry cards, please turn to our employees at the entrance checks. Then you will receive voting card blocks. Requests to speak, please hand them in early time, and please use the request to speak card that you will find in your voting or functional card blocks, or which are provided at the rostrums on the front right of the request to speak table. According to paragraph 16, paragraph 3 of the bylaws, I hereby determined that the General Meeting will be fully transmitted in the internet with cameras and sound. Now this room is going to be the meeting room, and including the entire area of this side of the entry checks. For organizational reasons, votings can only be made in the main room, but not in the adjoining rooms. And unless I don't disclose anything different, then the no votes and the abstentions are included. I'm going to talk more about the voting procedure. Please switch off your mobile phones in this room. Don't use them in this room, and please switch them off. The list of participants is being prepared at the moment, and it's going to be available in electronic form, updated through terminals on the left, in front of the left entry of the room, and as soon as the initial representation has been provided. These are the formalities I had to say. Further information about the procedure of the General Meeting can be taken from the information brochure that has been sent to you together with the invitation and the access ticket. If you do not have this brochure, you can also get this at the information booth and the foyer on the ground floor. As a measure of prevention, as a preventive measure, the general meeting was determined to take 2 hours. But I may assume that we're trying to fully work through the agenda today. So let's start with the agenda. So the following points are being dealt with. Top 1, presentation of the adopted annual financial statement of MAN SE and the approved consolidated financial statements for the year ending December 31, 2010, plus the status report of MAN SE. Further, under top 1, the MAN Group Management Report for 2010 fiscal year. Further, in accordance with the sections of 289, section 4, and section 315, paragraph 4 of the German Commercial Code, and the report of the Supervisory Board. Top 2, appropriation of MAN SE's net retained profit. Top 3, the approval of the actions of the part of the Executive Board. Top 4, approval of the Supervisory Board's action. Top 5, remuneration system of the Executive Board members. Top 6, the elections to the Supervisory Board. And finally, under top 7, the remuneration of the first Supervisory Board of MAN SE and appointment of the auditors for 2011 fiscal year. Ladies and gentlemen, the full wording of the agenda and the proposals for the resolutions have been sent to you. And the presentations of the administration include the documents for the annual statement 2010 and also the remuneration system for the board as outlined in the remuneration report. And also, this document has been provided in the internet since the publication of the invitation on the internet page of MAN SE, available for the shareholders. Mr. Dr. Pachter-Reihofen is going to give you further detailed explanations. So before, I'd like to inform you about staff changes, personal changes in the Supervisory Board and the Board, and I'm going to show you the report of the Supervisory Board for the business year 2010, and also the Corporate Governance Report, and I'm going to submit a few proposals for the resolutions, and to talk about various resolutions for the general meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, in the course of the year 2010 until today, the following changes have occurred in the personalities of the Board and the Supervisory Board. As already reported in the last general meeting of 1st April 2010, the Supervisory Board, as of 11 December 2009, has appointed Mr. Frank H. Lutz as the representative member of the Board of MAN SE with immediate effect. As of 12 November 2010, he was also appointed as ordinary member of the Board, effective as of 1st January 2011. Then the Supervisor also appointed Mr. Klaus Stahlmann, effective as of 1st January 2010, as a deputy member, and also as of 12 November 2010, effective as of 1st January 2011, as an ordinary member of the Board of the member of the Board of MAN SE. Mr. Stahlmann has also been member and speaker of the Board of MAN Diesel and Turbo SE, effective as of 1st January 2010. Mr. Stahlmann resigned from his office on 22 February 2011 from the Board of MAN SE, and also he resigned from the Board of the MAN Diesel and Turbo SE. The Supervisory Board respects this decision and therefore approved this resignation. As already mentioned in the AGM on 1st April 2010, then the Supervisory Board appointed Mr. Dr. Georg Pachter-Reihofen as Speaker of the Board of MAN SE, effective as of 1st January 2010. On 2nd July 2010, the Supervisory Board appointed Mr. Dr. Georg Pachter-Reihofen again as a member and speaker of the Board of MAN SE, effective as of 1st July 2011, and effective as of the end of the AGM of MANSE, 1st April 2010, Mr. Stefan W. Ropers is resigning his office as a member of the Supervisory Board in MANSE. Mr. Dr. Kremer also resigned from his deputy membership for Mr. Ropers, as well effective as of the end of the AGM of MANSE on 1st April 2010. The successor of Mr. Ropers is Mr. Ulf Berkenhagen, who has been elected on the AGM MANSE of 1 April 2010 for the remaining term of the Supervisory Board. Further, Mr. Dr. Kremer, he is a elected deputy member of the other shareholders, representatives of the Supervisory Board of MANSE, and he has been appointed as deputy member of Mr. Berkenhagen. Finally, Mr. Dr. Heiner Hassford terminated his mandate as member of the Supervisory Board of MANSE on the end of the 15th of June 2011. According to the bylaws of MANSE, Dr. Kremer has joined in, Mr. Dr. Kremer has been joined in as a deputy member at the place of Mr. Dr. Hassford in the Supervisory Board until the expiry of his term of office. Ladies and gentlemen, on the company report you're going to find a report of the Supervisory Board on page 8 of the business report about our activities in the business year 2011. On page 16 you also find the corporate governance report of the Board and the Supervisory Board. I'd like to particularly mention these particular reports, but I would like to mention a few special points here. In the business year 2010, the Supervisory Board has intensively supported and provided consultation for the Board. And the Supervisory Board dealt with the disposal of the remaining 30% shares of MAN at Ferdinand and the sale to the International Petroleum Investment Company, IPIC. Additionally, we dealt with the strategic further development of MAN Group to become an increasingly international company, and also we've dealt with various aspects of a close cooperation between MAN and Scania. Further, we had to make decisions about acquisitions and disposals. Dr. Pachter-Reihofen is going to render a more detailed report about these transactions. Also in the year 2010, we were focused in the Supervisory Board on the area of compliance. The Supervisory Board has been dealing in large detail with questions of compliance on an ongoing basis. The CCO of MANSE also reported to the Supervisory Board about compliance topics on a regular basis. Particularly, he informed about the further expansion of the compliance organization and the further optimization of the compliance systems within MAN Group. Furthermore, we have been reported about the development of the ongoing examination results, and Mr. Dr. Pachter-Reihofen is going to render further details and further developments in compliance. At this point, I'd like to stress again that the Supervisory Board and Board are fully obligated to the regulations and the activities of the companies. It is the task of the board to show any suspicions and making sure that any violations should not repeat. And the Supervisory Board is going to supervise this consequently and continuously. Now, with regard to the previous member of the board, Klaus Stahlmann, the examinations are still going on, and having said this, the board and the Supervisory Board proposed to the AGM to postpone the adoption of the resolutions regarding the approval of the actions of Mr. Klaus Stahlmann, and also to approve the actions of the other members of the Supervisory Board for the year 2010. Now let's talk about the annual statements that we're going to show you today. The Supervisory Board has approved the annual statements of MAN SE and MAN Group by 31st December 2010, and also the status reports have been verified and has approved them in their meeting on 18 March 2011. That's why the annual statement of the MAN SE has been hereby approved. The auditors, PricewaterhouseCoopers Aktiengesellschaft auditors, has verified both the annual statements and the status reports and has certified them individually. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the corporate governance within MAN. In December 2010, the Board and Supervisory Board have disseminated annual compliance declarations according to the German Corporate Governance Codex in line with paragraph and section 161 of the Stock Corporation Law. Now, with regard to the planned resignation of Mr. Professor Schulz from the Board of ThyssenKrupp AG, with the end of this year's AGM of ThyssenKrupp AG, has also provided a temporary limitation with regard to the recommendation of the member of Supervisory Board mandates of a board of a stock-listed company for group external companies. That's why, since Mr. Professor Schulz has left the board of ThyssenKrupp AG, now this limitation is no longer valid anymore. And also for the realization of the Codex in the business year 2010, a detailed corporate governance report has been published in the business report.
We report in this in detail on the corporate governance structure at MAN and its further development. I would like to highlight in this context that in November 2010, the Supervisory Board decided to base the composition of the Supervisory Board on the following three criteria. At least 2 Supervisory Board positions, out of which 1 shall be allocated to a shareholder representative who specially satisfies the criteria of internationality. At least 2 Supervisory Board positions shall be allocated to shareholder representatives who neither exercise an advisory, directorship or similar function at customers, suppliers, lenders or other business partners of the MAN Group, nor have a business or personal relationship with MAN SE or its executive board that gives rise to a conflict of interest. At least 2 Supervisory Board positions shall be allocated to women, at least 1 of which is on the shareholder side. Election proposals of the Supervisory Board made to the responsible election bodies should take the above-mentioned goals into account. When election proposals are made, persons who have reached the age of 70 at the time of the election shall, as a rule, not be considered. I would also like to emphasize that in the fiscal year 2010, no conflicts of interest of members of the Supervisory or of the Executive Board were reported for the fiscal year. Ladies and gentlemen, the annual declaration of conformity based on the German Corporate Governance Code and made by the Executive and the Supervisory Board according to Article 161 Stock Corporation Law was actually made in May 2011 and were actually supplemented by an additional clause. I will come back to this at a later point in my presentation when I talk about the election proposals. Now, the remuneration system for the Executive Board. The Supervisory Board discussed this during its meeting in February 2010 and again in connection with the bonus discussion in June 2010. And we discussed the necessary adjustments of the remuneration system for members of the MAN SE's Executive Board. Various adjustments have been approved, which are actually reported on at our AGM of last year. At that time, However, the Supervisory Board had not decided on the calculation of the bonus for the Executive Board members. Only in June 2010, the Supervisory Board decided on this topic. With this decision, the examens ordered by the Supervisory Board can be considered having been carried out, and all the details are included in the business report from page 21 on. Contrary to the meeting we had last year, the examens ordered by the Supervisory Board can be considered having been considered. Against this background, we will have proposed that a resolution be made regarding the remuneration system for the Executive Board of the Executive Board members, and the details will be presented by Dr. Bachterreichhofen a little bit later. And now the remuneration system for the Supervisory Board. And this system was established in 2006, and it was actually discussed in connection with the resolution which was made regarding the change of legal form of MAN-AG into an SE, and this was done on April 3, 2009. However, a decision can only be made at the AGM at the end of the term of office of the Supervisory Board. According to the Articles of Association, the term of office of the Supervisory Board of the MAN-SE ends at the end of this AGM. And another condition is that the company has been registered in the respective commercial register, and also at the end of the MAN-SE's general meeting. Regarding item 7 of the agenda, we propose to resolve that the members of the first Supervisory Board receive a remuneration which is based on the rules and regulations of the Articles of Association of the MAN-SE, which is valid since the change of legal form into an SE on the 19th of May 2009. Further explanations regarding the remuneration system of the Executive Board and the Supervisory Board regarding the fiscal year 2010 and the presentation of the individually paid remunerations can be found in the management report on pages 21 to 23 and on pages 176 to 179 respectively. Regarding the members of the Supervisory Board, the figures stated are subject to the approval of the AGM, of course. By way of conclusion, I would like to make the following comment of corporate governance. We are striving to improve the efficiency of the Supervisory Board's activities. As you can see from the most recent efficiency report, which was made in 2008, you can see that we have carried out various improvement measures regarding the activity of the Supervisory Board. Particularly the reporting system regarding strategical topics and transactions subject to approval have been approved. The topic of compliance is a regular topic on the agenda of the Supervisory Board. We also introduced a new committee which will prepare all the important topics for Supervisory Board meetings and which makes a considerable contribution to the efficiency improvement within the Supervisory Board. It is intended a new detailed efficiency test for the Supervisory Board is planned for 2011 as soon as the new Supervisory Board to be elected today has established itself. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of my report I would like to refer to the election of the 8 shareholder representatives of the Supervisory Board of MAN-SE, which consists of 16 members and shall be based on parity. You know the proposal made by the Supervisory Board. Last Thursday, the EU Commission announced a change also in connection with the membership of Professor Heitzmann and Mr. Piëch and Professor Joachim Heitzmann, who are all members of the Board of Scania AB, and the Commission has said that the membership of Mr. Piëch and Professor Heitzmann is only possible after the approval given under antitrust legislation. Independent from this, the gentlemen mentioned have informed me that they will not stand up as a candidate for the supervisory board of the MAN-SE until the EU decision has been made. The gentlemen Winterkorn, Heitzmann and Piëch are all members of the Scania board, and they have also made a declaration of compliance. Michael Behrendt, Mrs. Polens, Professor Eckhard Schulz, Rupert Stadler, and myself are the remaining candidates. And as a representative of Volkswagen AG, I was informed that he intends to actually propose the following candidate for a 5-year period of office: Ulf Bergenhagen, Dr. Thomas Krämer, and Dr. Matthias Buse. These are the candidates. Ulf Bergenhagen and Ulf Krämer are known to you. Dr. Krämer would then no more be available as a deputy candidate. Also, the supervisory board dealt with the appropriateness of the takeover offer made by the VW group, and the examination was made by an external consultant, and they have also prepared a comment concerning the takeover. When the supervisory board resolved on this comment, the supervisory board members who actually are a member of the board of VW have abstained. Those gentlemen were Mr. Stadler, Mr. Bergenhagen, and myself. Also, I did not chair the meeting when this topic was discussed. The same applies to the meeting of the new committee. Ladies and gentlemen, when we nominated the candidates, we considered the age limit of 70 years, which is also applicable to MAN-SE. Out of the proposed supervisory board members, I'm the only one who is older than 70. This means our proposal takes the age limit into account. I would like to announce that in case of my election as a member of MAN-SE's supervisory board, I would like to run for the position of the chairman of the supervisory board. I would also like to refer to the fact that the AGM is not bound by the proposals for the election of shareholder representatives on the supervisory board. At this point, I would like to express my thanks to the supervisory board members, Professor Köcher, Mr. Bergenhagen, Dr. Ruprecht, Dr. Krämer, who will leave the supervisory board, for the constructive work they have done. Of course, I also express my thanks to the gentlemen Ropers and Dr. Hasford. Ladies and gentlemen, I herewith conclude my explanatory notes to the agenda and my report, and I state that the list of attendance is ready now and is available at the terminals at the entrance and will be continuously updated. The count of those present at the beginning of the AGM is as follows. We have 91,224,929 common shares represented. This makes 64.7% of the common shares entitled to vote out of a total of 140,974,350 common shares. and also 1,446,952 preferred shares. This makes 23.85% of the preferred shares not entitled to vote, out of a total of 6,665,650 preferred shares. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Pachter-Reihofer will now report on the general economic situation, on the development of the company and of the group, and he will also explain the annual statements for the fiscal year 2010. He will also make explanatory notes to further items on our today's agenda.
Herr Dr. Pachter, bitte.